When I was 8 months pregnant, my husband demanded $50,000 for a business deal that sounded more like a gamble than an opportunity. I refused, protecting the future of our unborn child. That's when his face turned red with anger, and everything spiraled out of control. He slapped me across the face, tied my hands with rope, and forced me onto a horse in the freezing cold. "You'll stay out here until you agree," he said before storming back inside, leaving me vulnerable, terrified, and clutching my belly, praying for my baby's safety. But what happened next will shock you. It was the moment that changed everything, igniting a fire inside me I never knew I had. This is the story of how I escaped, fought back, and rebuilt my life after betrayal and abuse. Hello, my name is Sophia, and I'm 28 years old. Just a couple of years ago, my life seemed perfect. I had a stable job at a software company, amazing colleagues, and big dreams of building a happy family. Then, I met Adam, a charming and confident man who worked in the finance department. Adam had a way of making everyone feel important. His sharp wit, sense of responsibility, and mature demeanor drew me in. What started as casual conversations during lunch breaks quickly turned into evenings spent together. Before I knew it, I was head over heels in love with him. When Adam proposed, I thought I had found the perfect partner to share my future with. He promised stability, love, and support, the foundation I had always dreamed of for a family. Our wedding day was beautiful, and for a while, our life together seemed like a fairy tale. But fairy tales don't last forever. Over time, cracks began to form in our perfect life. Little requests turned into big sacrifices, and the man I thought I knew began to change. Looking back now, I realized the red flags I ignored, the ones that led me to the darkest chapter of my life. This is the story of how I fell in love, lost everything, and found the strength to fight for myself and my unborn child. The first few months of our marriage felt like a dream. Adam was attentive, thoughtful, and always quick to remind me how lucky we were to have found each other. He'd leave sweet notes for me in the morning, surprise me with my favorite meals, and make me laugh until my sides hurt. Every day felt like a reminder that I had made the right choice. When Adam suggested I leave my job, I was hesitant. I loved my work and the independence it gave me, but he assured me his income was more than enough for both of us. "You don't need to stress about work anymore," he said, his voice filled with confidence. "Focus on building our home, and I'll take care of everything." I wanted to believe him, so I agreed. It was an adjustment, but Adam's reassurance made it feel right at the time. I spent my days decorating our home, cooking meals, and dreaming of the family we would build together. For a while, life felt perfect. Adam was the man I had always hoped for, kind, dependable, and loving. But slowly, that picture began to crack, revealing a side of him I never could have imagined. A year into our marriage, I discovered I was pregnant. The moment I saw the positive test, my heart swelled with joy. I had always dreamed of being a mother, and this felt like the happiest moment of my life. That evening, I couldn't wait to share the news with Adam. When he came home, I greeted him with a small gift box containing the test. I expected excitement, maybe even tears of joy. Instead, Adam opened the box, looked at the test, and frowned. "A baby," he muttered. "Do you know how expensive that's going to be?" His words stung, but I tried to brush them off. I convinced myself that he was just overwhelmed. Over the next few weeks, though, his reaction wasn't a one-time thing. Adam became colder and more distant. The man who once showered me with love and attention now barely looked at me. As my pregnancy progressed, his attitude worsened. He started coming home late, snapping at small things, and complaining about money constantly. One evening, as I was folding tiny baby clothes I had just bought, Adam stormed in with a stack of papers in his hand. "We need to talk," he said sharply, tossing the papers on the table. "What's wrong?" I asked, already feeling uneasy. "I need $50,000, he said bluntly. "There's a deal at work I need to close. If I don't, my career could be over." I stared at him in disbelief. "Adam, we don't have $50,000 lying around. The money we've saved is for the baby." His jaw tightened, his voice rising. "This isn't just about me. It's about us. If I lose this deal, how will I provide for you and the baby?" I shook my head, standing firm. "You're asking me to risk everything we've saved for something you're not even sure will work. I can't do that." His frustration turned to fury. "Do you think you can just say no to me? Do you know what I'm dealing with?" His voice thundered, and I instinctively stepped back, clutching my belly. I had always seen flashes of frustration in Adam before, but this was different. The man I once trusted now terrified me. Little did I know, things were about to get much worse. Adam's demand for $50,000 marked a turning point in our relationship. The man who once felt like my protector now felt like my oppressor. His frustration boiled over that night, and I saw a side of him I never imagined existed. When I refused to give him the money, his face twisted with rage. "You think you can just defy me?" he shouted, his voice echoing in the room. I tried to remain calm, explaining that our savings were meant for the baby's future. "You're gambling with our child's security," I said, hoping reason would reach him. Instead, he erupted. Without warning, Adam slapped me hard across the face. The force sent me stumbling back, my hand instinctively shielding my swollen belly. Tears filled my eyes as I looked at him, stunned and hurt. "You will do as I say," he hissed, his words filled with venom. Before I could react, Adam grabbed a rope from the corner of the room. "If you won't listen, I'll make you." My heart raced as he tied my hands tightly, ignoring my protests and tears. My pleas fell on deaf ears as he dragged me outside into the freezing cold night. In the dim moonlight, I saw the horse standing in the yard. Adam's grip was iron-like as he forced me onto the saddle. "You'll stay out here until you agree to my demands," he said, his voice cold and unfeeling. The icy wind bit into my skin, and I could feel the chill creeping into my bones. My belly felt heavy, and I clutched it protectively, praying my baby would stay safe. Adam stood there for a moment, his eyes filled with anger. "You'll regret ever saying no to me," he spat before storming back into the house, leaving me tied and helpless. As I sat on that horse, shivering and terrified, my mind raced. Was this really the man I had trusted with my life? The man I had dreamed of building a family with? I felt utterly powerless, but deep inside, a spark of determination ignited. I couldn't give in. Not for him. Not for anyone. My baby's life depended on me finding a way out of this nightmare. This was the moment I realized I had to fight back, no matter the cost. Sitting on that horse in the freezing cold, tied and helpless, I knew I couldn't afford to panic. My baby's life depended on me finding a way out. The ropes around my wrists burned as they dug into my skin, but I refused to give up. With every ounce of strength I had, I twisted my hands, testing the knots. The wind howled, and the icy air stung my cheeks, but the only thing I could focus on was getting free. My eyes scanned the surroundings, looking for anything I could use. That's when I noticed the rough edge of the saddle. Slowly, I began rubbing the ropes against it, praying it would be enough to fray them. It felt like hours, though it was likely only minutes. My wrists throbbed, and my fingers felt numb from the cold, but I didn't stop. Finally, I felt the fibers begin to snap. With one last desperate tug, the ropes gave way, and my hands were free. Carefully, I climbed off the horse, trying not to lose my balance with my heavily pregnant belly. My legs wobbled, but adrenaline coursed through me, giving me the strength to keep moving. I glanced back at the house, terrified Adam might return, but the windows were dark. Not wasting another moment, I began walking down the dirt road leading away from the house. The night was pitch black, and the cold seeped into my bones, but I kept going, clutching my belly protectively. Every step felt like a small victory, a reminder that I was still alive, still fighting. After what felt like an eternity, I saw headlights in the distance. Desperation took over, and I stumbled into the middle of the road, waving my arms frantically. The car screeched to a halt, and a man stepped out, his face filled with concern. "Are you okay?" he asked, noticing my swollen belly and tear-streaked face. "Please," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I need help. My husband tried to hurt me." Without hesitation, he helped me into his car, and for the first time that night, I felt a glimmer of safety. The man who rescued me drove straight to the nearest police station. During the ride, I clutched my belly, whispering silent reassurances to my baby that we were safe now. When we arrived, I was ushered inside, and the warmth of the station was a stark contrast to the icy terror I had just escaped. An officer offered me a chair and a blanket. "Can you tell us what happened?" he asked gently. My voice trembled as I recounted everything: Adam's demand for money, his violent outburst, and how he left me tied up in the cold. Every detail poured out like a flood, and I could see the officers' expressions harden as they listened. They took my statement and arranged for a medical checkup. The doctor confirmed that my baby was unharmed, though I had bruises on my wrists and face, along with mild hypothermia. These medical reports became vital evidence in the case against Adam. After ensuring my safety, the officers asked, "Do you have somewhere you can stay through my tears?" I nodded. "My parents. They live about an hour away. They arranged for a car to take me there, and when I arrived, I collapsed into my mother's arms. My father, a retired lawyer, promised me one thing that night will make him pay for what he's done." The next few days were a whirlwind. With my father's guidance, I filed 2 cases against Adam: a criminal case for domestic violence and endangerment, and a divorce case demanding custody of my unborn child. The evidence we gathered was damning. In addition to the medical reports and my testimony, we found text messages where Adam had insulted and threatened me in the past. My father even dug into Adam's financial history, uncovering reckless behavior that supported my claims about his demand for $50,000. When the court hearings began, Adam arrived with a lawyer, looking confident, but his smug demeanor crumbled as my attorney presented the evidence. His attempts to deny everything fell apart under scrutiny. In the end, Adam was found guilty of domestic violence and sentenced to 3 years in prison. The court also granted me full custody of my child, ensuring that Adam would never have the chance to hurt us again. Justice was served, but for me, this was just the beginning of reclaiming my life. After Adam was sentenced, I finally felt a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced in years. But the road ahead wasn't easy. The trauma lingered in my mind, and every time I thought about the night he left me tied and helpless, anger and fear crept in. Still, I knew I had to move forward for myself and for my baby. Living with my parents provided me with the stability I desperately needed. They helped me prepare for motherhood, and their unwavering support became my foundation. A few months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Holding him in my arms for the first time, I felt an overwhelming mix of love and determination. I named him Ethan, a name that symbolized strength and resilience. With Ethan in my life, I had a new purpose. Every sleepless night and every moment of uncertainty was worth it when I saw his tiny face looking up at me. My parents' help gave me the time to heal emotionally and plan for our future. One day, I decided it was time to reclaim my independence. Leaving my career had been one of Adam's first demands, but now I had the chance to start fresh. With my father's connections and my previous experience in the software industry, I landed a flexible position at a reputable tech company. Balancing work and motherhood was challenging, but it gave me a sense of purpose and control over my life. Over time, I also found strength in sharing my story. I connected with organizations supporting domestic abuse survivors and began volunteering. Speaking about my journey was therapeutic, and it reminded me that I wasn't alone. With a steady income and a growing support network, I started saving aggressively to secure Ethan's future. My father, ever the planner, helped me set up a trust fund for him. Everything I did, from advancing in my career to creating a loving home, was for Ethan. Looking back, I realized how far I had come. What Adam intended to break me instead became the foundation for my transformation. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving. Looking back on everything I've been through, I realized that the woman I was before Adam, vulnerable, dependent, and scared, no longer exists. That version of me was broken, but the woman I became after surviving that nightmare is strong, resilient, and unbreakable. The journey wasn't easy. There were nights when I thought I wouldn't make it, when the fear and pain felt like they would consume me, but each day I found a little more strength to keep going. I held on to my love for my son, Ethan, and the belief that I could build a better future for him. I couldn't let the man who once promised to love and protect me steal my joy or my purpose. If you're watching this and you're in an abusive relationship, please know this: you are not alone. You have more strength than you realize, even when it feels like you're drowning. You deserve love, respect, and safety, and you are capable of creating a life beyond the pain. It wasn't easy, but I left. I found the courage to say no, to walk away, and to take control of my own life. And if I can do it, so can you. To anyone out there feeling trapped or hopeless, I want you to hear me clearly: you are worthy of happiness. You are worthy of peace, and no one has the right to take that away from you. I didn't just survive what Adam did to me, I turned my pain into power. I built a future for my son and myself, one full of love, safety, and hope. You can rebuild your life, too. And when you do, you'll be stronger than you ever imagined. As I look at my life now, holding my son and watching him grow, I'm filled with a sense of gratitude for how far I've come. The pain of the past will always be a part of me, but it no longer defines me. I've rebuilt my life, and in doing so, I've found strength and resilience I never knew I had. If you've been moved by my story, or if it resonates with you in any way, I encourage you to take that first step toward freedom. Share your story, ask for help, and remember, you are not alone. Please like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like mine. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.